Hey, welcome to Bifocal. Today's show is part 2 of a 3-part series that we're doing on diet, nutrition, fitness, and training, and then mind awareness. So stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. As I mentioned, this is part 2 of a 3-part series that we're doing with Mark Kavinsky, owner and founder of Skullfitness. Part 1, as you may remember, we talked about diet and nutrition. This series, this part 2, we're going to be talking about fitness, training, and how maybe to blend that together with diet and nutrition. And then we also have a part 3 coming up, so stay tuned for that. So Mark, welcome back.
Great, thank you.
To Bifocal.
Glad to be here again.
Yeah, it wasn't long ago we had you in here for part 1, and just to kind of bring this to full circle, and we mentioned this, I believe, in the show. We were planning to do all this in one show.
Yes, and then we realized there was just a lot of content and a lot of good questions you had as well too that we just realized there's just much more to this than in one show.
Yeah, so it'll be good to break this out a little bit and get a little more granular on each topic.
Yep.
I think last show, you were 1 week away from doing a competition.
Correct, I was. I had a competition bodybuilding show up in Wisconsin and did well in that show. I actually won the 2 divisions I was in, which was in the Masters division and the Open Bodybuilding division. So very fortunate. I had
Congratulations.
Some Thank you. And then 2 weeks after that, it was a second show I did up in Michigan. And this was even a bigger show, more reputable, the Michigan State Championships. And even though the numbers might have been a little bit down this year with the attendance, it's still known as a very high quality show. So there's been people that have gone to the show for 7, 8, 9 years trying to win once and can't even win. I was fortunate enough to go in, at least I placed second place in both of my divisions, again, in the men's masters and in the men's open bodybuilding for my weight too. So I was pretty happy with that. Some really good competition, some really good, some experienced veterans there and stuff. Wow. But it was a good showing. I was very proud of it.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
It's probably nice once you get your body ready to do a couple shows while you're there, right?
Yes, right.
So how long will you stay? I mean, you still look pretty fit. How long will you stay like that?
I'm actually just starting. Here's the funny thing about it. This is where the nutrition kind of comes in as well. I did about 21 weeks of dieting. Okay, and cutting down my carbs and manipulating my proteins and fats and my cardio. And I'm now, it's almost 4 or 5 weeks away from my last show, excuse me. And I've only gained probably 6 or 7 pounds from my stage weight. My metabolism is working so fast right now, and I'm eating more food. And each week I start adding more and more. And I'm into what's called as your bulking season now. So I'll start putting my weight on to get a little, to fill out again as well too, not be so depleted. But my metabolism is running very high right now. So I've added more meals. I've added a few thousand more calories to my diet, and I'm only up about 5 or 6 pounds. Now that's because your body will take a good 4 to 6 weeks to adjust to because you spent so many weeks dieting and burning. What happens is the body has to readjust back to, okay, we're gaining weight again.
So you just as you have an adjustment to get your body like that, you have to go through an adjustment to kind of get back to more of a normal state.
It's like a reverse dieting almost. You're coming back the other way around. And there's a lot of pitfalls to that. If you ever get to the point where someone who does actually go on stage, people can develop eating disorders very quickly because if you come out of a show, you're depleted, you want to eat something, then all of a sudden your mind's like, I just want to keep eating. And then they're eating junk food or eating 3 or 4 weeks later, they've gained 40 pounds back on. Now they're depressed because they've gained all this weight that they spent all this time working off. There's a procedure to do it correctly where you slowly add on your weight, introduce yourself back to the foods again, and you're feeling healthy and normal. So, for people like that, I have to help coach and work through. Here's how you get through that. There's the mental aspect of it, but there's the physical part of it as well too.
Well, and that's why you wanted to do a part 3,
right, on
the mind awareness and the mental side, because even just with the everyday person dieting,
every day,
mental is.
That's why that's a whole
big
separate
piece
section
of
itself. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So as you we're going to talk about fitness, and as we talk about that, what's the balance of diet, nutrition versus training and cardio, and how do they kind of work together?
you can't have one without the other. They have to work together. And I'll even throw the mind part in as well, the third part. All three synergistically have to work. You have to be in the right mind frame. You have to have a good training protocol in place, and then your diet. Now, based on my experience and a lot of other veterans and people in it, 80% of this is diet. The diet is a big part of this. If you're not eating well and not eating the correct portion.
Can I stop you?
Sure.
When you say 80% of this, let's make sure everyone understands what this is. So as we talk today,
sure,
this is what?
As you're trying to get yourself in shape, as you're trying to get yourself to an ideal body
so not
weight.
necessarily bodybuilding.
No.
Just as I'm trying to get fit.
Right. I want to be fit, healthy. Whether I got 25 pounds to lose or 15, whatever it might be, to get into that where I feel good, comfortable, and this is my goal where I want to be at. A big focus is going to be on your diet. And the reason why I say that is because you can do all the training in the world. You can work out 3-4 hours a day. But if you go home and you're pounding cheeseburgers and fries and Oreo cookies, you are what you eat. And you're not going to, it's counterproductive.
Yep.
Training is extremely important. The training mechanism is the stimulus. You go to, whether you go to the gym or you work out at home or you go for a walk, that's to wake your body up and to challenge the muscle and to break down the muscle tissue. You then need the food as the repair mechanism. You're eating proteins, healthy fats, healthy carbohydrates. That'll start repairing the building blocks. Now that muscle regenerates, repairs, gets stronger.
So I think it's an interesting point. You talked about the exercising, the training. The training it's actually a tearing down.
You're breaking down.
You're breaking
Correct.
down.
Correct.
Okay. And I remember being in high school and going through sports and everything. They always told you, don't lift every day. Is that the reason? Because you're just constantly tearing muscles down?
Well, it's not. You can lift every day. I prefer not to. 5 days a week is ideal because you need to give your body time to repair. If it doesn't repair, it's never going to catch up. Now, with that being said, I'm one of those advocates where I train one body part per week because I don't need to hit my legs 2 or 3 times a week. I don't need to do my arms 3 times a week. Arms are ancillary where if I'm doing a back day or chest day, my arms are still involved. So they're, as a side note, they're still getting work. Shoulders are once a week or every 5 days, depending on your rotation. It then allows adequate time for that muscle to repair, regenerate, get strength back, and then go back again. So you're not risking overtraining and taxing your muscles and then risking injury. You're tearing muscle, you're tearing ligaments. You don't want to do too much. So there's a procedure in a proper way.
You were implying that the diet is important because you need certain types of foods then to rebuild that muscle back up?
Right. Well, to repair that tissue, to repair the muscle and to build it back up to make it stronger. And then when you go to work out again, you're going to break those fibers apart again.
Is that what's happening when you're lifting? You're actually tearing the fiber?
That's why you have that soreness. It's tearing, and they're microfibers. They're very, very small. You're not hurting yourself, but they're microfibers. They're tearing. So the building block of protein or muscle is amino acids. So when you take in protein, whether it's through fish, chicken, meat, eggs, that breaks down in your digestive system, your enzymes, and you're going to have amino acids that get released. And there's essential aminos like leucine. And what those will do is come and repair the gaps in that muscle tissue and start to, strengthen them and sometimes make the muscle grow a little bit. Now, I want to caution people, you're not going to grow and look like a bodybuilder just by working out. That's a whole other level there too. Yep. Some people, especially a lot of female clients I work with, are worried about, I don't want to get big and muscular. You're not going to. You're not going to, unless we really push the envelope for the next 5 to 10 years. All we're looking is to tighten the muscles, tone them, get a nice shape and form. You're still going to get soreness. You want to break down that tissue, in the gym or working out or whether at home. But the food is the mechanism to repair. It's just like driving you've got a car, say if you're driving a Ferrari, you're not going to put the cheapest, worst gas in it. You're going to buy, to make that car run, you're going to put higher end gas. So when it goes back to nutrition, you want good, high quality foods. You don't want to live on, again, Oreos and sugars and cake and stuff like that. You want good quality food to make that engine run and to run efficiently.
So I guess as a precedent for this show, if I'm going to begin a training regimen, and we'll get into what that is, it really needs to be supplemented with a good nutrition
Absolutely.
diet.
Absolutely. Because you're walking in quicksand if you're not. And again, we talked about cheat meals before too, and I encourage those at certain periods of times. But you're going to spend the time and the effort training and working on your body and sculpting your physique there. You have to complement that with the diet. They have to go together.
So someone's out there and they're going, yeah, I'd like to get into a more of a regimen. Where do you start? How do you know where to start?
I start with initial goals. I'll ask somebody, what are you looking to achieve first? And if they're saying, you know what, I've got a wedding coming up I want to look good for, you know what, I've got a class reunion, there's got to be a goal in mind, because it's hard to stay on track if there's no goal, or there's got to be what I call as a trigger. Something, an event in your life that happened or occurred, or you just had one of those aha epiphany moments, like, you know what, enough's enough. Whether you see a picture of yourself, or whether you went to a screening with a doctor and say, hey, you're 50 pounds overweight, you're too much stress on your heart, or your blood pressure's up, you're pre-diabetic. Anything could be a trigger to, like, I need to get my life in order. Once that decision's made there, right, now where do I start? What do I do? So you first people start looking at their diet. Okay, we'll start cleaning up our diet and, taking out some of the bad foods.
Once again, that's kind of the starting point.
Usually it is. It's going to be the diet. But to me, it's the diet and the training, because your body's not going to change and adapt too much. With the diet, you'll lose some of the fat. Absolutely. But you need to work on what's underneath that. You need to work on the muscle. The diet's not helping the muscle. It's the training that's helping the muscle. So you could drop 50 pounds of fat, but you may look a lot thinner and you look great as well too. But if you're looking for some kind of muscle tone definition, a little bit in the shoulders or the arms, you need to stimulate that muscle. So that's where the training comes into play. So we look at, for training is like, well, do you have a membership at a gym? Do you want to go to gym, or you have a home gym? Do you have something at home you can work out with? What about if you just want to get out and go ride a bike, or do a stationary bike, or go out if you have a treadmill at home, or again, go to the park every day, take walks, or start jogging. There's different mechanisms. What people like to do is you find out, well, what do you want to do? Well,
that brings up a good point, is how do you balance cardio versus weightlifting and weight training?
Cardio is one of those things where I'm believing you can do that every day. Cardio is just, the health benefits are wonderful. It's just great for your blood flow, for your heart, for your mind, just for your whole body, your well-being. Cardio is really good. And there's many, many forms of cardio, whether someone's doing, CrossFit training, or going for a daily walk, riding a bike, kickboxing, hitting the heavy bag or something, playing tennis, playing basketball. Cardio is considered anything that gets your heart rate up to a certain level. It's elevated and sustaining that level where it's beating, like say at 130, 140, 150 beats per minute, based on your age and height and weight and stuff. But you're sustaining that for at least, a good 30 minutes. 20 minutes of cardio is what I call that's your warm-up period. You're doing cardio for about 20 minutes and you're burning off some of your excess carbohydrates in your system. When you get past that 20 minutes, there's been scientific reports and proof of this. 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50, you start getting what's called like fat burning zone. You burn off some of your carbs in your system. Now you want to start burning off the fat on top of that.
Beyond that 20 minutes, does the individual have to work harder? Do they increase the level that they're working, or is it just the time that is getting into the fat burning?
As they get more and more comfortable with cardio, some people may only be able to start with maybe 10 or 15 minutes initially because they haven't been moving for a while. Then we work on that. Then another week, we're going to add 5 more minutes or 10 more minutes to your cardio. We'll eventually work you up to 30 to 40 minutes. And you'll get to the point where your body starts to crave it. We're like, I need to go do my cardio today because I feel better. I do mine first thing in the morning. I'm up at 5:30. I get my cardio done. I don't have to, but it makes me feel better for the rest of the day. Not only am I burning off calories for the next 8 hours because of that 40-minute cardio session, but I just feel better. I'm more alert. I'm ready for the day.
But if I did 40 minutes of kind of a very consistent regimen,
it's got to be enough, again, where it's getting your heart rate up. If it's a nice casual walk, you're walking at 2.8, 3.0, whatever your walking speed would be. If you're just doing a very casual walk, like you're just walking down the street, that's not cardio. It's got to get your heartbeat going. You got to get your breath a little bit. Not where you're.
How do you know where to take your heart? Like an average person, how do they know for them personally What's that heart range? What's that goal that I should be looking at?
Typically, some of the treadmills that are out there, like have the sensors, you put your hand on them, it'll say, they'll give you a range. Hey, you're 125, 130, 127. That might be your range where your heart rate should be. But if you don't have something like that, I always tell people, if you're walking or jogging, make it to the point where you can still have a conversation with someone. You're not out of breath, like you're wheezing so much like you just ran a marathon, but you're pushing your body a little bit. You're to the point where, like, you know what, I'm at a nice, comfortable, and I don't jog much because my frame is too big for that. It's too much impact on my knees. So I walk at a very good pace where I'm walking pretty fast. I'm walking at like a 4 or 4.
Is that 6. Part of your cardio is walking?
Yeah, very high. Sometimes at the incline, and I'll vary it as you get more advanced.
You use a treadmill?
Yes, I'll use the treadmill. And so I get mine at a pretty good clip where I'm going, but to the point where I'm not out of breath, but I'm, whether I'm breaking a sweat or not, doesn't matter. It's just getting my heart rate up where I feel like, hey, you know what? I'm moving. My blood is flowing. I know where my heart rate's going to be because I'm so used to it. But if you're just you're sauntering, you're just walking, and as a normal pace you always do, that's not cardio. It's got to be above and beyond what you're used to doing. Whether you're, again, Stairmaster or elliptical or whatever machine you might have. Again, just you're going to go to the park, just do a power walk. Walk to the point where you're not quite jogging, but you're on the brink of it. It's a fast enough walk, but you're not jogging. That's cardio. You got your blood pumping. You're moving now.
Sounds like the key is you got to get your body doing something beyond what it's typically been doing.
Remember what we talked about last time with homeostasis. So your body goes in that part where it's relaxed. It's not only with food, it's with training your body. Someone who, say someone, landscaper, working all day out in yards in the sun, and they're lifting, they're moving mulch and rocks and stuff, and like, oh my gosh, they're burning calories. Sure they are. But their body's gotten used to that. They have to then go above and beyond and go to the gym afterwards, to go work out afterwards if they really want to tighten, tone up, build muscle. Their physique may be fine, but if they want to add more to it, you have to go above and beyond. Other people that have jobs that are more sedentary, where sitting behind a desk, not really moving a lot, not a lot of calories are being burned, you're not active. That's what their life is used to. You put them on 30 minutes of cardio and they're going to see quicker changes. Yeah. So it depends on your lifestyle, but it's got to be above and beyond what you're already doing now.
Sure. I know there's a lot of people that exercise. There's a lot of people that don't exercise.
Sure.
Right? But there's a lot of people that exercise. Everyone's familiar with running. Everyone's familiar with exercising. Mm-hmm. Everyone's familiar with riding a bike, okay, to what level and stuff. But I mean, they're all familiar with that kind of stuff. Not a lot of people are familiar with weightlifting, right? That type of exercise. Yes. And I'm assuming that to do that type of exercise, there's some correct ways of doing it, some incorrect ways of doing it.
Yeah.
There's certain exercises to do,
yes,
certain exercises not to do. So the average person, or, how do they know? Is that where Skullfitness comes in?
Yes, because this is where, based on a lot of my experience.
Do you have any experience lifting weights?
Just a little bit.
Once
in a while. But even today, as many years as I've been lifting, I'm still fine-tuning and tweaking what I do. And sometimes I'll miss stuff where if my hand is a quarter inch off, or I'm not doing, because I've learned to feel the muscle. And that takes time. So I'm not going to scare people with that. You got to learn to feel the muscle. Don't worry about that. Form, that's where it's good to have some more training in terms of formalize someone who can, if you've got a personal trainer or someone who has been doing it for a while, that can kind of help you out in the gym. Someone like me would come in saying, okay, here's the proper way to do a bench press or an arm, bicep curl, or how do we want to do a squat or lat pull down. There's different ways that you have to, and most people go in honestly, and you have these people with the New Year's resolutions. It's New Year's, I'm going to drop 20 pounds, I'm going to the gym. And that whole month of January, the gyms are crowded. And then by February, it falls off.
Memberships went through the roof.
Go through the roof. And I think the statistic is less than 10% will keep up with that diet after 3 weeks. At that training. But people will go and they'll just look and watch others, they'll emulate, and they'll start doing what others do. Problem is, they're doing the same mistakes that other people are doing that don't know how to do it correctly. A perfect example is when I'm at the gym all the time, and I'm not kidding you, I can probably find 80 to 90% of people, as I'm looking around, I can fix something in their exercise. And that's me, that includes me as well. But I'll watch people and I'm like, yeah, and there's times if I see someone that looks like they're hurting themselves, like they're going to tear something, I will say to them, you know what? I don't mean to interrupt you, but you need to adjust this. You're going to pull a muscle. You're going to tear something if you keep it this way. And they're very appreciative. But for most people, I just kind of leave them alone unless somebody will ask me. But a most common one is people do seated upright rows. You're sitting down on the bench and you got the cable in front of you, and you're doing the rows. And constantly I see people just kind of sway and back and forth when they're trying to pull it, and they're not doing anything. And I try to tell them, I go, you sit straight up, keep your back stiff, straight up, and the only thing moving is your elbows. You're not moving your waist. Your elbows come out, your shoulders come out of position to stretch, and then you pull back into your waist. You keep things tight, and you go back, you go forth. You're not rocking back and forth, and I see that all the time. And a lot of people do what's called ego lifting. They'll come in, I can lift this much weight. I don't care how much weight you can lift. I can care less. I can make 5 pounds feel like 100 pounds to you. It doesn't make a difference to me. Your body doesn't care. Your brain sees the number on the weight. It sees 5 pounds. Your body just wants to know what the stimulus is. Man, that's harder than I thought. And I make you go slower, or I make you hold it or contract. That's going to hurt much more than, the 5 pounds is going to hurt more than 50 or
That's
75.
an interesting point. I think you talked about this a little bit in part one, but it's an interesting point. The weight really doesn't matter.
No, the weight does not matter.
It's the resistance against the body.
Correct.
And the correct resistance.
Correct. You want to add weight as you get stronger. And that's a good measure to show, am I getting a little stronger? Well, gosh, 2 weeks ago, I was doing 20 pounds. I can do 25 now for 8 reps, or I can do 25 for 10 reps. Maybe next week I'll go to 30. That's a good measure. Now, does it mean the success or failure of your training that you're doing if you don't always, beat personal records or get high numbers? No, not at all. But you also don't want to go stagnant for 5 months on the same weight. You want to always change it up. So going back to your first question, how do people get started? To me, it's the simple thing is you break it down is, let's break you down by body part. Or how many days a week can you go and train? Say if we're talking weight training, they're saying I can only do 2 days a week. Well, we're gonna do full body workouts on both, because I can't hit all your body parts in 2 days. You give me 4 days or 5 days, yes, leg day, chest day, arm day, back. We can break it down. And then from there, I'll say, we're gonna pick 3 or 4 exercises for each body part for that day. Okay, let's make that simpler. Now, within those 3 to 4 exercises, we're going to do maybe 3 to 4 sets. Now, a set is, if I'm curling, a set is, I'm doing 10 repetitions, 1, 2, 3, 4, all up to 10, put the weight down. That's set number 1. I rest for maybe 30 seconds, 60 seconds, do 10 more. That's set number 2.
Now, when you do something like that, would you do all curls at one time? Would you do all 4 sets of curls? Then you go to another exercise, or do you alternate? I'll do a set of curls. I'll do a set of bench.
That gets more advanced. To keep things simple as a baseline, just work on that exercise, go to the next one. I can get into all kinds of things of drop sets, supersets, giant sets, cross sets. There's all kinds of things that mix in with it.
So it depends where the individual's at.
Yes. The one thing to remember, and I can't stress this enough, is stimulate the body. It's constant variety. I never, ever had the same workout twice. Never. I go to the next day, whether I'm changing the order of the exercises, I'm changing the tempo. I'm going faster one day, slower the next. I'm going heavy day with weight. I'm going lighter day with weight. I'm going to do 8 reps. Tomorrow I'm going to do 12 reps. It is constantly changing. I don't follow the same. And then that took years to develop. When people are first starting off, maybe those first 6 months to a year, you're going to follow the schedule here, because your body needs to learn to adapt.
Consistency is important.
Consistency. Yes, absolutely. That's very much a key. Then when we start noticing your body's not adapting or changing as quickly, okay, we're going to shake it up. Every 2 weeks, we're going to throw something else different in there. It keeps your body guessing, and you will see faster results. Not only in your diet, I do the same thing with diet. We're going to change your diet up a little bit here. We're going to shock it. Same thing in your training. Your body gets used to something, gets comfortable with it. Okay, let's change it up. We're going to shock it now. And we will reverse the order. We'll change the day you do it with exercise, or we'll completely change the exercises. We'll put something else in there, some other different types of movements. So we break it down by maybe 3 or 4 exercises, 3 to 4 sets. You're in and out of the gym 45 minutes to an hour. You're done.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
What should someone expect?
Yeah.
45 minutes to an hour.
45 minutes to an hour. Some days, like a leg day, is a little longer because you have more recovery period.
All right, here's a question.
Mm-hmm.
I've lifted a lot of weights in my earlier years, and I still do today, but for different reasons today than I did, when I played sports as a kid. But working out my legs was never something I wanted. It was just not fun.
Nope.
Okay. If someone's doing cardio regularly, okay, how important is it that they lift weights for their legs?
It's still important to lift weights for legs. You ever notice a marathon runner has very long, thin legs? They don't have muscular legs. They're muscular, but they're thinner. Okay. If you want some size and shape to your legs, cardio doesn't do that. Okay. The muscle stimulation, the muscle breakdown, and that's by doing, leg lifts and squats and, lunges and stuff like that come in to stimulate that muscle to allow it to grow, just to get some shape and form to it. Most people skip legs. They don't like doing legs. But if you want a nice balanced physique, you do need to do legs. And I'm one of those. Legs is not my favorite thing to do. And I have to psych myself up to do legs. But once I'm doing them, I'm halfway through the workout, I start feeling, I'm glad I'm doing this. I feel good. And then when I'm done, I'm like, I'm so glad I did that. It was wonderful. Now I have to wait a week to do it again because I break it down.
So maybe a good way to look at this, and I'm trying to look at this through my eyes, okay? But a good way to look at this, if I'm really serious about getting into a fitness plan, right? My whole body has to be part of the plan.
Everything. Starting from here in your mind, physically, how you're feeling in that too, and then what you're feeding yourself to, all of it together. It has to all go together.
So that's probably a very good concept to have people understand. Hey, this is a full body thing.
Yes.
I'm not just going to do a little bit of
this. I'm
this.
working to flatten my stomach. Everybody will say, I just want to flatten my stomach. No, it's everything. You're going to do everything. That'll be that's an effect of working out and eating well. But if your goal is just to see washboard abs, well, there's more to it than that.
Do I got to spend money?
To join a gym, you may have to spend $20 a month. It's not.
Do I got to join a gym?
No. If you want to work out at home, you may have to spend money. Say if I would recommend buy some bands, go online to Amazon.
Those are popular.
Tension bands. Well, yeah, they're very popular, hard to get now. Tension bands, the 5, 10, 15,
I just
20 pounds.
switched to doing that.
You get a great workout with bands. Just
four weeks ago I did.
Did you?
I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
You can change the intensity. And if you get real creative, when we were in lockdown, for almost 3 months, I was using a combination of bands and some free weights I had, nothing heavy, but I was still going through competition dieting. So for 12 weeks, I didn't have the gym to go to, but I had my bands and I had a couple of dumbbells and a couple of free weights, that I reinvented, made some exercises and some things I'm still using today because the bands work very well. Those resistance bands, highly recommend those.
But I guess like any other thing, there's this extreme to this extreme. I could join a gym and have all the state-of-the-art equipment, and saunas and whirlpools and all of that. Or I could have a broomstick and a rubber band, a resistant band at home and my street outside, and I can walk and I can do that. It's whatever I have to work with.
I could take a gallon of water jug and just use it to do curls and stuff too, or I could do shoulder presses with it. I could do just household items. Some people would take like cans of beans or soup, whatever, just some kind of weight,
because the key, as you said, is I gotta stimulate the
muscle.
The body doesn't know whether I'm holding a can of beans.
Doesn't care. Or if it's holding an Olympic plate, it doesn't care. It just feels there's resistance here. So now it's going against gravity, and now you're squeezing and you're contracting that muscle. Like that's resistance. So they call it a time under tension. That's what activates the muscle. So an example would be is if you'll see people that work out and they go real fast in their weights. I'm going to curl my weights real fast and I'm done. It's not doing anything. It's nice, slow, controlled, contract, and then full extension, contract again. The longer if it's taking you 3 to 5 seconds to do that movement, that's called time under tension. Under tension, now you are stimulating that muscle. Now that muscle's like, I got to work. And the more seconds you go, the deeper into the fibers you're going to get. Now, if I'm going 7 seconds, 8, it's going to hurt. And that's where that 5 pounds I said will hurt as opposed to 50 pounds. People that go real fast are using momentum. Momentum's not getting you anything. You might as well just stay home at that point. Now you're going nice, slow contraction movements, whether it's your shoulders, your arms, your chest.
Well, you know what I'm thinking as you're talking? what I'm thinking about is, and I have to assume this is for many people, they spend the time, okay? And many people they're like, hey, I spend the time. I spend an hour every day, all right? And there's probably a lot of people that do that. But how much more effective would it be if they were doing it correctly? Because I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, I'm just applying some of the stuff you're saying to my own regiment, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I do it quite like that. And I could be exercising the same amount of time and probably getting more out of it. And I guess that's the value of a coach.
Right. Someone who knows look, you're not hitting that muscle, your angle is wrong, or maybe your arms are too far out from your body. You're hitting a different muscle other than the muscle that you're hitting. That's where the coach comes in and can fine tune that for you, saying, let's bring your arms a little bit more. Let's hold that muscle, let's squeeze, come down a little bit. Now hold it. Now I'll go a little further. Now come back. That you're stimulating, where you're right. People are like, well, I spent an hour in the gym and I'm not seeing a lot of results. Well, there's several factors. Let me look at your diet. What's your stress level? Because cortisol, which is your stress hormone, causes a lot. If you're stressed out at work and the home, the family life and the kids and paying bills, and you got so much stress breaks down muscle. You're trying to build up muscle, called hypertrophy. You're trying to strengthen and build the muscle. Atrophy is when you're breaking it down. Cortisol is a hormone in your body that releases when you are stressed, and it starts breaking down muscle tissue. So cortisol is an enemy when you're trying to work out.
Is that what happens?
Yes.
I mean, I've often heard, they say, hey, I'm gaining weight. Well, are you stressed?
Yep.
That's what's happening?
Well, that type of stress eating is, it can lead to a disorder where your mind is telling you.
No, but you're saying there's a biological
thing. There's a biological, yes. Yeah. There's something chemically going on that's happening that's causing that issue.
Interesting.
But cortisol is as bodybuilders, we want to stay away from cortisol. So you want to go and you put your headphones in, you clear your mind, you go work out, you focus on the gym. I got 23 other hours of the day to worry about my life. But that 1 hour, that's my hour where it's just, I'm focusing on this, my contractions, how I'm working out, how I'm feeling.
It's almost like you just can't go through the motions.
No.
It's almost like in anything in life, right?
It's anything in life.
I just can't go through the motions.
Right.
And so if I'm serious about getting fit, then I got to be serious about getting fit.
Right. You have to dedicate. You dedicate yourself. And you're your worst critic. You're your best judge as well, too. You will know, did I really get a good workout in? Did I really do it today? Yeah. You got to push yourself. And again, I have many different sayings. And again, one that I repeat a lot is, are you better today than you were yesterday? I use that a lot. What did I do to make myself better? Whether it was mentally, I read something or I learned something, a new skill, or when I went into the gym, I was able to get a better workout in, for example, or I can go a little further. I walked an extra quarter mile today. What did you do? Are you better today? So you have to learn to push yourself. Now, there's going to be times you're going to get those plateaus where I just can't do it. That's where the coach comes in, saying, okay, need to identify, I can see what's going on here. Let's shake this up. Let's make this a little more exciting for you, because sometimes people are like, oh, I could work out again. It's boring. It's the same thing. It shouldn't be, because you should be changing it up so frequently, changing your exercise routines and stuff and changing sets. You should be doing that enough where it's like, okay, I'm excited. I'm good to go with this. And people get excited when they first start a diet and training plan. They're like, okay, this is the new me. I'm going to eat well and I'm going to train. And 2 weeks later, back on the couch again. Stick with it. It's either they weren't seeing results fast enough, which you're not going to see right away. You have to be patient with it. This is a marathon, not a sprint. It didn't take you 10 years to put on 50 pounds, or it didn't take you 10 days to put on 50 pounds. It might have taken you 10 years. I'm not saying it's going to take 10 years to take it off, but it's not going to take 10 days to lose 50 pounds. You have to manage expectations here.
Well, I think that kind of leads into maybe a good point is expectations. Mm-hmm. And before I ask you a couple questions there, I guess I want to summarize a little bit of what you talked about, because I think you hit on a couple good points. Mm-hmm. One is, if I'm going to make my mind up to get fit, I have to really know what I'm doing. Okay, it's not a matter of going down my basement in my gym or going to a gym.
You need a plan.
And spending an hour.
Right.
Time has no relevance.
Correct.
If I'm not doing things correctly.
Yes.
Right? You mentioned momentum, motion. Well, that's really not exercising my body. The momentum and the force is doing a lot of it for me, right?
It's a form of cardio is what you're doing.
Yeah. So I guess the big thing I'm getting out of you up to this point is, if you're going to do it, do things correctly. Okay. And because if you do it correctly, you're probably going to get better results.
Yes, you're going to get better results.
So if I'm serious about this, I need to learn what I need to learn to do things correctly.
Right. If you're serious about it and to maximize your effort, the time you're putting in,
that's the way to maximize.
To maximize your results.
Yeah. Yep. Because most people don't have a lot of time.
Right.
So if you have minimal time, you better maximize. That's the best way to put it. You better maximize your time.
That's the correct word for it.
So you were talking about expectations. What's a realistic expectation? And I know everyone's goal is different, but I'm going to take an average person. Okay, an average person says, hey, I need to lose 20 pounds. I need to lose 15 pounds. And you know what? I just don't have any definition at all. And I don't need to look like a bodybuilder, but I'd like to have a little more of a thin look, slender look.
Sure.
I'd like to have a little bit. Okay. What's that take? I mean, I know it's a loaded question.
There's a lot to that, yes.
Set some expectation levels.
Okay, so typically if someone's like, well, I'm a great expectation level when I put someone on a diet or a nutrition program is we're looking around 2 pounds a week of body loss, a weight loss.
That seems pretty aggressive.
Sure, it could be. 1 pound is not enough. You get to the point you're losing 4 and 5 a week.
Now, is that 2 pounds go for a period of time and then you say, hey, I'm probably not going to sustain that any longer?
No, you can keep going. You can keep going. It's because this is where the coaching comes into, all right, now we're going to change up your diet. Now we're going to change up your workout. Your body gets to the point where like, oh, I'm used to that. What's called as a plateau. Okay, now you're holding weight 2 weeks, 3 weeks. My weight hasn't changed. I've been doing what I've been doing. Nope, your body's already adapted. Now we got to reshock it again.
How long does it take for your body to adapt?
It's different for everybody. There's no rule of thumb. Some people adapt pretty quickly within 2 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks is kind of a good average to say where your body starts making some changes. That's where.
So I think it's another good point you mentioned.
Yes, because when people start a program, they give up after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
No, stick with it. You got to give it a good 6 weeks. And then after 6 weeks, you're not seeing something.
Well, I think the other thing too is if I'm changing my diet, okay, now I got different foods, okay, or different portions of different foods or whatever. If I'm changing my exercise, my training, it is making it a little more stimulating to me.
Right. It's stimulating to you.
Which helps me keep it going.
Keeps your motivation going. Now, and when you're seeing, most people, when they see the results either in the mirror or on the scale, and I don't like using the scale too much because it can get a little convoluted.
Right.
It's very one-dimensional.
Is this a true statement? Muscle weighs more than fat?
Yes.
Okay. So that has to be taken into consideration.
Right. I have had people I train where they're like, I haven't lost any weight in 3 weeks. I go, I'm not worried about that part. I want to see the pictures of you. Let's see what you look like physically. And they start seeing a little more muscle tone, muscle definition. I go, because you're building the muscle. The muscle's getting stronger, getting tighter, getting leaner. You're gonna add you may add 3 or 4 pounds of muscle. But I just lost 3 or 4 pounds of fat. Nothing's happened. The scale is one-dimensional.
But your clothes should start fitting a little different.
You will know. Also, the clothes fit a little bit better. Shirt's a little tighter. The pants are a little looser. But my weight's the same. Your body is redistributing itself. It's now shifting away from fat.
I base everything on how my clothes fit.
Yep. A lot of people do that. How my clothes fit.
I never get on the scale. It doesn't matter to me.
Right. It's a one-dimensional number. There's complicated scales that show your body mass index, and here's your, whatever. You look in the mirror. How do you look? How are you looking? And again, you can start seeing some definition in the side of a leg or your shoulder. You're like, oh, there's something that wasn't there before, but I weigh the same because your body is just redistributing itself.
So expectation, though, really, I mean, if someone's serious, I'm assuming they're going to have to be at this for a good 6, 12 months before they start seeing.
I like a good 6 months is a great barometer of, you give me 6 months, you're going to look vastly different than you did before. 1 month is, we're just kind of getting started. Your body's getting used to it. 3 months, you'll start seeing some results in 3 months. You'll see initial fat loss in the first 3 months, and then your body starts to plateau. At that 3 months, now you need a coach, or if you know how to, you need to readjust everything to get through the 6 months, the 9 to 12. But it becomes a lifestyle, as we talked about. This is your lifestyle. If you're this serious, you're this dedicated, you start eating well, you start training, you start doing some cardio, you start to put it all together. Now everything starts going together here.
This is a lifestyle. I can't live eating Brussels sprouts and carrots and turnips.
Neither can I.
Okay?
Right.
And nobody can.
Right.
I can't live going to the gym 2 hours a day.
Right.
I can't do that. How do I find a good balance between diet, nutrition, cardio, training, this whole umbrella of fitness that's realistic? That when I go to a party, I can't be afraid someone's going to have something, and what do I do? And because that's real life stuff.
Right. In real life, that's a great example. So if you're training, again, I'd like to get 4 to 5 days a week of some training. Okay, give your body rest the other days. If you can do 30 minutes of cardio every day or work up to 30 minutes, great, wonderful. Some will go beyond that. If you miss a day or two, that's okay, but your body can handle 7 days a week of cardio. It really can. But if you're doing 5 and you're on the weekends off, you want to rest, go right ahead. If that's what keeps you going, keeps you motivated, that's fine. Anything less than 3 days a week, you're not doing a lot. Okay? So my suggestion is
that's an interesting point.
Yeah. If you're only doing it less than 3 days a week, I said you're not getting.
It's not enough for your body.
It's not enough. It's not enough. It's got to be that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
5 is a nice ideal day. 5 out of the 7 days.
So don't fool ourselves if we're exercising 2 or 3 days a week and we're kind of just going through motions. We're really not doing anything.
Right.
Okay.
So people has expectations in real life situation is, oh gosh, I'm so busy. I don't have time. That you will make the time. You have. I'm sure people have time to go hang out at bars and restaurants, and they go out with friends and do other casual things. Or sitting on the couch at night for a couple hours to kind of unwind at the end of the day. We all have free time like that. You can certainly wake up 30 minutes earlier and maybe do some cardio, go for a walk or whatever it is you're going to do for that. Or if you work out, some people like working out in the mornings. They like to get up in the morning and go work out. I can't. My body's not awake.
Does it matter when you work out?
No.
Does your body respond differently?
No, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You work out whenever it's convenient for you. It could be during your lunch. It could be after work. It could be after dinner. It could be first thing in the morning. Whatever fits in your schedule. But the point is you've got to make time.
What about exercising after you eat? I know a lot of people say, oh, that's not good for you.
The recommendation is at least a good 45 minutes after you eat.
Okay.
Almost to an hour, because it allows that food to start digesting. If you go work out on a full stomach, what's happening is the blood in your body and the enzymes are kind of rushing to digest the food. Therefore, it can't go to that muscle. When you're trying to work on shoulders, you'll get some blood to the muscle, but not all of it's you're not going to get the full stimulation because your body's trying to digest all the food up here. But when I hit a muscle part, I want all the blood flow to go here because I want that muscle to stretch, expand, and contract. I want all the blood flow there so then I can really hit that muscle and engorge it. But if I just ate a steak and some potatoes, my body's going to try to digest that and the blood's going to digest that, and only so much is left over to go to that muscle. So that's the reason why. So many people, before they go to work out, they'll go on I don't say go on an empty stomach. Have something in you at least a half hour or 45 minutes ahead of time, whether it's a protein shake or just a little bit of oatmeal or whatever digests fast in your body, because then that's going to be your energy to get through that workout. But you don't want to work out on a full stomach because you're going to feel slow, lethargic. And then when your workout's done, you're just going to crash because you're just beat tired because like the blood flow is going where it doesn't need to go.
Does the average person, and average is a general word, okay, but does the average person have to work out to where they're just dripping sweat to get something out of it?
That's a misnomer. People feel that if I'm sweating, I've worked out. No, that's just your body cooling itself down. That's a self-regulatory. Your body's it's overheating, so it's cooling down. Do I have to sweat to feel like I had a good workout? No. Some people have different glands. They don't sweat as much as others. Some glisten. Some people just walk up the stairs and they're just sweating. That's just how their body is. That is not an indicator of how hard you worked or how much effort you put in. You will know your effort if you're like, man, that muscle, man, I'm trying to pick up a glass of water that I'm shaking.
You're feeling it.
I'm feeling it. I may not have sweat anything, but I'm just feeling it. Or I just know when I get in that car and after I get out of the gym, I sit down and I go, that's a good workout. You feel it. You know it.
Interesting. Because I always, I've had workouts where you're sweating and you're having other workouts, and I'm thinking that.
Yeah. Some workouts, right, depend on the exercise. I know with certain exercises, when I'm bent over more, if I'm bent over doing work on my back and stuff, as I'm bent down further, I will sweat more. Or if I'm leaning over further. Other ones where I'm sitting more upright, I don't sweat it. But everybody's different. You're going to have some that, I'm sweating. That must have been a good workout. No, that's not,
Skullfitness, it's your company, right? An idea you started out of passion.
Yes.
Probably conviction for yourself personally, and then it became passion and became a way of life.
Yes.
And this is what you do. All the stuff we're talking about, this is what you do.
Yeah.
You work with people on this kind of stuff.
Right.
If somebody wants to get started, how would you start with them?
The very first thing I will ask is, what is your goal? I need to know where you're at right now. And once I understand what their goal is, and there could be a multitude of goals. And within that goal, we may have 4 or 5 goals in between, smaller ones to get to your overall goal. And that goal may be a year away to get to that point. But so it's not so daunting, we'll break things down. So I want to know, what is your goal? What's your why? What's your motivation here? You know, and then I have a questionnaire. As we talked about once before, I have a pretty extensive questionnaire. I want to know about you, your health, your lifestyle. What are your favorite foods? What are some of your least favorite foods? What are any medical conditions you have? What is your prior training experience? Do you have some? Do you have none? You know, so there's a whole list of things. You know, medically, historically, are you allergic to nuts, for example, or do you have a gluten allergy, or, you know, whatever it might be? Diabetic. There's different things, because there's different types of foods that'll go with that. And typically people that are diabetic know what they can and can't eat. They don't have to hear it from me. They know what they can and can't eat. But I'll go through the questionnaire. It's like, okay, now I got a profile of you. I've talked to you. I've kind of interviewed you. I want to find out where your mind is. I can see your dedication level is like, you know what? And I can tell a lot of times I'm talking to people, it's like, you know what? I've tried all kinds of diets. I've tried all kinds of trainers. Nothing's working. I'm fed up. Then I kind of get, when I got someone's like, okay, I need you to have that trigger, as I said before. What's brought you to me? Why? What do you want? What do you want out of this? And what are those goals? Once we got that set up, that's in their mind. This is the mind part of it. Once I've got you there, and you're knowing that, you know what? Yeah, I need this for myself. I need this for a better me, for my family, you know, for my lifestyle. Then we start putting you on, okay, what's your current diet? What are you eating right now? I need to know the past week. I need to know what you've been eating and stuff. What's your current training regimen? Well, your diet might be nothing. You don't train. Okay, fine. We have a baseline. Now we're going to put together a training plan for you that works for you. What are some things you want to do? Some people are like, I can't do cardio. Where's that got me? I got a bad knee. I don't do cardio. Okay. Can you do a bike? Can you ride an elliptical bike or something? You know, can you, do you like the one jump rope? Do you want to hit a heavy bag? You know, what are some things you like to do? Activities. You might want to go play basketball in the backyard or something like that. You're moving around. You got blood flowing. It's going to work when it's the things that work for you. It's what you like to do. Yeah. Okay. That's my activities. Okay. Well, some of that stuff's outdoor activities. What about on a rainy day or something too? Well, you still do it. Get out there and go for the walk in the rain. So what? Or if you got to do something indoors, go up and down your stairs 50 times. Go up and down your stairs, up and down your stairs. Time yourself. And like, now, next time you do it, beat that time and see if you can shave 10 seconds off your time the next time. There's different things you can do around. You just get creative enough with it. Go up and downstairs carrying a couple weights or something, a couple cans of beans, like I said. That's a cardio.
Don't eat them, carry them.
Eat them afterwards.
Eat them afterwards.
But we'll find someone, again, what their foods that they like, so we can design a nutrition plan around that, what kind of cardio work they would do, and then the exercise. What's available to you? Are you able to get to a gym? Do you have a home gym? Do you just have some bands or something? You have to make an investment, though. If you're going to make an investment in yourself, you have to make an investment in this. You have to buy the right foods. You have to get some form of equipment, whether it's you're spending $100 or you're spending $40, $50 or $20 at a gym or something. There's got to be an investment in this. You don't need to go buy $5,000 Peloton machines and stuff. And people like those, and those are great. Or the thing now called the mirror that hangs on your wall. Those things are pretty neat. They're fine, but people don't have the disposable income to spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on things like this either. But that's where you can still do this. And again, when I go buy food, rice is not expensive. Oatmeal's not very expensive. Sure, meat can get expensive, but as you said, I don't want to be living on Brussels sprouts every day and beets and stuff. I don't either. I don't do that. So I have my meals, and then I have set cheat meals throughout the week as well too. Hey, as a reward, as a goal, I did well this week. Then I'll say, you go get whatever you want, whatever you're craving. Your favorite food is, boy, I want a large Starbucks, double mocha latte, and I want a donut. Go get it. You've earned it. You go get it. And it makes people excited. Like, I've worked for this. And then they'll eat it and they're like, oh, that's great. And they're like, oh, what did I do that for? And I'm like, don't feel guilty about it. because I've just helped your metabolism now by doing that.
Yeah.
So
we had a big segment on that in part 1.
Right, we did. But the training aspect of it is you've got to dedicate yourself. You've got to push yourself. You've got to learn to push through that. And you're going to have those days where my body doesn't have it. I'm not quite feeling it. I don't take off days. And I'm not expecting people to have the same level of dedication, discipline as I do. But I know I motivate a lot of people because I've been told that many times. I don't take off days. If I'm really sick, I'm sick. And I know you stay home. You don't infect everybody else. Don't get people sick if you're going out to the gym or out in public. Stay home if you don't feel well. But you got nagging aches and pains. We all do. You kind of toughen up, you go. Now, as long as it's not you've seen a doctor, it's like, oh yeah, your ligaments are hanging out the shoulder. Well, you got to get that repaired. That's a different thing. But all of us have that. I got tight muscle here and there and that. You get through it. Don't let that stop you, because now you're making excuses for yourself. Get rid of the excuses, get yourself on something, and actually have a goal and work for it.
Yeah. I think a couple things. What I've gotten out of today's show is if I'm going to do this, I got to know how to do it. Don't waste my own time on doing it the way I think I need to do it. Talk to somebody who has been there, who has done that, who knows the science behind it, who knows the art behind it, who knows the reasons behind it, right? I think you summed it up and you said, you got to be able to maximize my time. Time is irrelevant. I can go down and sit in my exercise room for an hour and it doesn't do me any good, right? Or I could go down and have a really good workout for 30 minutes and probably did something good, right? So maximizing my time, knowing how to do it, what to do, that's pretty critical. That's probably the biggest thing I got out of this, is knowing what to do and how to do it. Right. I think the other thing that it's actually kind of a segue into your next show is you started moving into, there's a mental piece to all of this, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned several times, you have to make an investment. Okay, well, there's a monetary investment. If I want to buy resistant bands for $20, or if I want to join a gym for $40, okay, there's that. But there is a mental investment to this. And from a personal standpoint, and just people I know, that seems to be where it falls down. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Am I correct? Is that how to mentally deal with this and hang in there?
That's a big component of that. And that's where, you need someone, if you're strong enough and you get through it, and you're going to go through those, you're going to have rough days. I've had them as well too. If you could break through it, but many of us need a support system, whether it's the family, the spouse, a friend, or a trainer. You need a support system to help you mentally.
I think that's going to be the interesting show. I really do, because that's where we fail.
Yeah, that's the biggest failure.
That's where we fail.
We become our own enemy at that point.
Yeah.
And we fail ourselves and we quit.
Before I wrap this show up, I have a question for you. In today's economy, okay, with everyone being remote and 6 feet apart and all of that, are you seeing your coaching business getting more towards video? People sharing a video with you saying, Mark, this is how I'm doing it?
Yes, I will see that. They'll send a video clip and they'll say, hey, can you critique this, or how does this look? And sure, not a problem. And I can, it's nice to be there sometimes, but I can't always be there. That's okay. But
I'm assuming you got some people also can do it live with you too.
Sure, they can do it live. But if I'm talking to somebody that's in Florida, for example, I can't be there. They'll send me a video of it or do it live. If they FaceTime it or however they want to do it, or a Zoom meeting or however it might be, and they can kind of see, all right, we got to correct that. Your right arm is doing this. You put your left leg forward a little bit more, and just subtleties that they didn't notice. And then I'll ask them, well, how's it feel now? Like, oh, I know the difference. I go, because once they have that aha moment, like, oh, I feel it now. That was it. Now remember that motion. Remember what you just did. And maybe after 3 months, you kind of get out of form and like, God, it's not doing it again. Think of professional golfers. They take 1,000 swings a day. Yep. They know that, or a professional baseball hitter. Take swing, but yet they still have coaches. They have hitting coaches, golfers and baseball players, because the little quarter inch here, a little hitch, whatever, throws it off. And these are professionals. Same thing when you're working out. As time goes by, you start getting out of that form slowly, like all of a sudden you're like, gosh, it's not doing the same. Got to bring your form back. You need that coach to say, your form's off again. We got to put you back in again.
Good point. Professional golfers and professional ball players, They have coaches.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods
Right.
has a coach.
They have a coach.
Somebody has to step out and watch from a distance, right? Because you can't.
You would think these guys are the best in the world. They have perfect technique, but they still, again, it's millimeters, centimeters, inches here and there, and they just get out of whack. And that coach has got to be able to find it. You're off. And they may not realize it. All of a sudden, wow, I'm back. I'm hitting 300 again, or I'm driving that ball 320 yards. And I was doing 280 before because the slightest little change. And again, these are professionals that have coaches.
Yeah. Somebody wants to reach out to you. How do they reach you?
The best way, the easiest way to get a hold of me is probably through an email. So it'd be mark@skullfitness.pro. Be the best way to reach out to me. And we'll have the website that is being launched here as well too. So it'll be at skullfitness.pro is the website. On there, you'll be able to learn more about myself, what programs are offered, and just to reach out. And you got a couple questions you want to, shoot off me as well too. You want to look at some of my programs. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
Can somebody just reach out to you with some general questions and before they commit to working with you?
Yes, I'm very fine with that. Just a couple basic questions that they want to ask. When it starts getting in depth, like, hey, can you design a plan for me? Well, then we'll have that conversation. But again, along with the email, and there's the website. There's also a Facebook page for skullfitness.pro, so it can be reached on the Facebook, and there's now a YouTube channel up for Skull Fitness. So all these forms of social media, there's going to be multiple ways for you to reach out to get a hold of me. Say just a couple of question answers. You want, send a list of questions. I can help you out with a couple of things. You're stuck on something, not a problem. If it starts getting more, I really want to get into this, involve more. Again, we can have that discussion. What works best for you? What are your goals? And I can help you out with that. And
I think it's good to point out that you can start with somebody at this scale, and you can scale with them as they want to scale.
Yes, absolutely. It's what's going to work for them, what's comfortable for them. And again, different programs I have, whether it's 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, or if there's people that are advanced enough or like, I want to do a show, I want to get on stage, or I've done a few shows, I need competition help, I can help with that as well too.
So you can work with people at the average person all the way up to a bodybuilder.
Yep. So with that age range, I work with some teenagers, say boys and girls in softball and football at the high school level to kind of help out with people up in their 60s and 70s as well too. That medium range, that 30, 40-year-old range, you have dad bod you hear about, you have mom after having 2 or 3 kids, they want to lose some weight or tighten things up a little bit. That's kind of a big area for me as well too, but I can take all ranges. Training someone 18, 19 years old, way different than training someone who's 50, 60, 70 years old, even 50 to 70 years old. There's different training. There's different diet plans. There's different types of training regimen as well too. So it's all customized depending on the person and their goals.
Very good. Very good. Well, hey, I'm glad you came back in. I'm looking forward to the next show.
Me too.
And so we'll have you back here real soon.
Thank you so much for having me here.
No problem. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Another great show. Just a wealth of knowledge. And it's stuff that we're dealing with every day. Just general questions that we have. Check him out. Check his YouTube channel out. You're going to find all kinds of information out there. Things on nutrition and diet and why, and now all the training. And then part 3, you need to stay tuned for part 3 because we're going to be talking about mind awareness and mind wellness and how do we mentally deal with this, because that's where we fall. So I'm looking forward to you tuning back in. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll talk to you soon.